This is what the world is calling pizza. Isn't it?
Hey, 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 how is everybody doing today? Who's out there in the chat room today? Who do we got here? Crypto Tucker, CKK, Martine, Frederick, Dragon. Hey, Mike. What's up, Pat Can, Doxy? Hello, Jeanette. Merry Christmas. Crypto Tucker, Ferdinando, Salazar, Hogan, Oye Bungie, SS Swartz 88. What's up, buddy? August 888, Noble One, Paul. Thank you for joining me on this day after Christmas live Bitcoin update with your friend, host, Big Chonis. Remember, guys, on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. These are my best ideas. I take technical analysis very seriously. I'm a crypto trader, an investor, a mentor, a chart psychologist. Please do your own research. You may have seen I have revamped my mentoring, and I am taking on new students. I did this in the spring and summertime and had a great time meeting new people and helping them figure out, how to best trade for their specific, their specifics in terms of how much money they have to invest and what their expectations are, and get a better sense of the market and just a better fundamental sense of technical classical trading styles that I'm offering to teach and talk about, as well as answer any questions you guys might have about crypto and trading related ideas and subjects. So please feel free to reach out to me on DM or email me bigchonis@gmail.com. I'm also a featured contributor to the Bitcoin Live. You can find my affiliate code in the YouTube channel here. And remember to follow me on the YouTube channel as well. I love to have you as subscribers, and please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my content. All right, let's get into it here because we're looking at some interesting price action in Bitcoin, and we are at a very, very important area of support that we are currently finding Bitcoin able to hold here. What does this mean? So, from our most recent swing low, 31.30, to our most recent swing high, 42.41. We have a 50% pullback, okay? From that big move here, we have moved 35% in the price of Bitcoin. And we have pulled back about 13% or so. A little bit more right there. There we go. There we go. So we have this pullback from our overall swing low to swing high move here. And we are watching to see how strong our support in this area can actually become. Now, why is this area so important? So let me just hold my retrace for just a moment, hold that for just a moment, and let's just look at our candles themselves. Now we can see when we were breaking very bearish here as the end of November came to be, we found initial support for several days here with these long lower wicks and closing candle confirmations around the $3,700 area. Every time we broke through it intraday, our candle closes were able to hold above, and that was consistent for 4 days in a row. That allowed this nice bullish extension here, and we basically were able to range from 37 all the way up to about $4,400, marking still our most recent top. Then we broke very bearish, as we all remember. Now, when we were able to get back up here, okay, and break through this area of support, turn resistance, okay, we were only able to put in a lower low. We weren't able to get up to 4,400. We were only able to get up to about $4,200 here. And now we're pulling back from that. But where are we pulling back to? And where are we currently finding our support? Back to back 2 days in a row with these lower wicks, right in this area again. Okay, so it's very important to establish an area of support, turn resistance, now being tested once again as support. Now, for this bullish continuation, okay, of this move here to follow through, we have to hold this area and begin to put in some higher highs. The reason this one failed is after we topped off here, we kept on putting in lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and the bulls basically gave up. We have done a similar pattern until we put in this higher high here intra-candle, okay, but a lower closing high all around. So we're still putting in lower lows from our close on December 20th, even though intraday we were able to break through on the 24th there. So this is still doing this until proven otherwise. And what could allow us to prove this otherwise is to hold this very important area of support, okay, at our 50% pullback here. So I'm gonna get rid of this guy for just a moment here. And I wanna go on my 4-hour chart. And the reason I wanna go on my 4-hour chart is because this has been a good guide for me and my trading style to get a sense of when we are still bullish and have a chance to have continuation of bullish momentum, or when it's fallen out. And this is gonna correct to a point where we're gonna retest our lower $3,000 areas. And what we're watching for here, hold on 1 second here. There we go. So what we're watching here, and this is so fascinating because we're seeing our cloud resistance still be maintained as support. Now on our 4-hour candle, this guy right here, when we were able to break in and close for the first time on a 4-hour candle during our entire major bear break. Remember, we couldn't get into it here. We tested it a couple times here. Couldn't get in, couldn't get in, couldn't get in. Resistance, resistance, resistance. We almost got in this candle, right? Intra-candle, but we closed below it. This was our first one. We were able to close inside. Our next candle, we did a back test, and we found our cloud resistance right here as cloud support. And that allowed us to bring in our bullish momentum. Ever since the rejection, the pullback, and the big bull breakthrough of our entire cloud resistance, we've been using it as support. And we can see that was tested here. That brought us our next bull move here, was tested here, and all these candles throughout. Now you see how many candles intra-candle we've had the break. Break in the cloud, break in the cloud, break in the cloud, break through the cloud. This was a scary one, but look what happens. Every time we close out, our body is higher. And that's very important to allow bullish continuality here. So now we have this Kumo flip. Okay, we had a twist to a bullish Kumo twist flip here. And now we have our green cloud. So we're looking at initial support line to continue rising. But if this fails and we actually close back into the cloud, that's still okay as long as we're able to hold above our lower cloud support, which dips to as low as 3650s here before rising. And this can rise. This is our lagging indicator. Our green up here is our more leading indicator. So this will adjust quicker to our Tenkin and Kaijin moves, okay? And this is our leading span 2, which will take a little bit longer time to react to any bullish or bearish moves. Bottom line is we have supports consistently in this area, and we have a juncture where 3650 needs to hold. And that's really as feel as we can get as low as. We see our wicks here, okay, in the 4 hour. Intra 4 hour got low, but we're never closed below 3636. Okay, see right here? And that leaves 3650 area, let's just call it our last line of bullish defense. If we're unable to hold this support here, okay, then we have a good chance that we've actually lost any kind of bullish momentum in this move, and that we're actually going to fall much lower and potentially retest our lower areas of support, or at least retest that 3150 area here. All right, so I want to zoom back up to my daily candle. And let's look at some other indicators here. First, I want to take a little look here in the chat room. 113 of my closest friends, day after Christmas. Thank you so much for joining me. Who else do we got here? I want to make sure I get everybody. Jay Clark, the Queer, Amid. Hello, Robin. Ciao, Kibella. Markal Suni, Christopher Norland, Paul L., Anthony Farid, Meltem, hello, Mike, got you. Queen Satoshi, good morning, my friend. Happy to have you here. Crypty McCripperson, that's a great one. Jeanette, anyone, what's the blue line? The blue line is my Tenkin on my cloud. I can go over that a little bit more. Patcan BTC tether for a close lower out cloud. So the tether is the USDT, and that is a chart I'm not following because we're still finding a weird arbitrage in that. And so I'm sticking with my USD charts for the time being here. I really feel they're giving me the most accuracy in terms of where the actual price action is. But if you're going to choose one, make sure you stick with it. So let's go back to my daily, and I want to bring up my Bollingers. You guys know I love my Bollingers. And we talk a lot about edge to edge, edge to edge in our cloud, edge to edge in our Bollingers. We had a bottom edge support test and hold, middle Bollinger break, upper Bollinger test, rejection, and we're coming down. Now, as long as we're able to hold our middle Bollinger, then everything is hunky-dory for another range higher in our bullish momentum. Now that's drifting higher as we have this angle, and currently around 35.79, but tomorrow it's probably going to be a little bit higher there, getting to that must-hold 36 area. Now, yes, intra-candle, we could allow on the daily, we could allow these wicks to basically happen as long as they're bought up and our daily close isn't lower than, let's just call it 3650. I really don't want to go lower than 3650. Anything lower than that, getting into the 35s, it just feels like if you're close to 35, then you're probably going to find that resistance on our middle BB again. And then I'd really have to target my lower Bollinger once again. So again, as long as our middle BB can hold support, we can move higher. Let's look at our RSI. Now we're broken below 50 again. I don't like this. We like to hold our 50 on the daily RSI if we want to extend to much more bullish momentum areas, which we've seen in the past. Currently around 46. Okay, now we see the 46 area here, right here, acted as resistance when we were trying to get more bullish above it. So there's history at 46, and this is a great place to find that support at the bulls want to re-achieve 50 again. But again, I don't like we're below 50. This gives the bears a little bit of an upper hand here. We also see that in the stochastic, where we've got a clear top off, and we're beginning to get in our zone here, where we tend to go to a full range lower. And what I mean by that, if we're unable to hold in the black zone up here above 80, we can do sometimes a loop-de-loop for a second attempt higher. Okay, but once we lose our upper 80 support here, we tend to basically drift all the way to a full reset. Getting very close to doing that. Our leading indicator is currently outside intraday, and our trailing probably needs a day or two. Unless we really break bearish, it will fall up very quickly. MACD on a daily here. Now this is interesting. We're watching a rollover of our histogram. Now, we had seen this begin to play out a couple days ago, right? As we were starting to see, this was a good ramp up here. Then we were seeing this consistency on our tops here. We had 4 days in a row where there wasn't much variance, and where we actually topped off. That told us the bulls were running out of momentum. We see that with our leading indicator as well. Still room on space here, okay, before we're able to touch our trailing and create some sort of a cross or a support ricochet for more continued bullish momentum here. Still a ways to go to get out of our zero line and above our negative line here. And this basically says we got weeks or so until we can basically get up to this area here. Even though our histogram is declining here, we still have room, and we can do another loop-to-loop here, which we've done in the past as well. But we're still in the negative because of how much bearishness we had in our major bear break in our Bitcoin price action. Yikes. Daily chalk and money flow. Okay, now this is interesting. Now we've been watching the weakness, right, of our CMF for quite a while here. I'm not entirely stuck on this trend line because, as you can see, we basically did a lower one here, broke through it, found it as support. So I'm not entirely convinced this is a major trend line break. Although from our most recent area here, we can argue that it is. If I go to a little more of a tighter range here, we can definitely see we are finding a higher low here, beginning to range a little higher, getting into that area here where we can say, okay, maybe we can target our zero line, okay? And that will bring us in areas where we have found nice bullish momentum. That's why this bounce so far is still kind of suspect and a little bit lackluster, just because we're not seeing any more major money flow, even though we bounced $1,000 and given back, a decent amount of that, half of it really, from the 42 back to about $3,700 area there. So, and this is also interesting. So, this is our OBV oscillator, so on balance volume oscillator. I actually like using this better than just the straight line. It gives me more of a sense of when we're overbought, oversold, overextended as is. We can see a double bearishness here where we had our dip, our initial bounce, weakness. So this was telling us that our bounce, as we got into the end of November there, was very weak, and we were basically about to crater once again. And sure enough, this move here definitely puts us higher than our most recent bullish moves, but we see where those areas top off. They top off with a big peak here, a big sharp peak, couple sharp peaks, and we have our two sharp peaks here. So this kind of tells me right now that this bullish cycle has run its course, kind of until proven otherwise. So let's go back to our daily here. I'm going to get rid of my Bollinger for just a moment. I want to bring in my EMA 12, EMA 26. Now I like to use my EMA 12 and EMA 26. These are just the ones that I like to use for a preference. You guys can obviously use any time frames you want for your EMAs, just as long as they're separated by some decent time, and you just use them consistently to see how they move with the price action. So what are we seeing here? Well, after we're able to get through our EMA 12 and spend several days holding support on our EMA 26 here, okay, we broke bearish through both of them intraday yesterday, but closed above our EMA 12. Then when we broke bullish today, you see right there to the penny where we have found that resistance, or a little close to the penny, right at EMA 26, okay? Now this is significant. What was once support is now acting as resistance. So our EMA 12, our EMA 26, our 26 broke, which meant our 12 was our fail safe, right? Our safety rope, and it held yesterday. Now today the bulls try and make a run at it, and where do they get rejected? They get rejected in the ceiling that used to be the floor, which means it's very important that today's candle, this guy right here, closes at least above my EMA 12, which right now is about 37.67. A close below will now put my two EMAs as resistance rather support, and the both of them as resistance has not happened until our actual bottom here on December 16th. So that would be notable and a very bearish sign if we can't even get our price action on the daily close, at least above my EMA 12 there. And that's important to keep that going if we want to keep that consistency of the chance to at least retest the $4,400 area, right? Which is where we want to get to. Okay. Now, let's take this off and let's talk a little bit about this inverse head and shoulders a lot of people have been talking about. Okay, we've seen something like, where are my drawings? There we go. Where this bottoming so far is not like our February bottom where we have that vicious V bottom. And all bottoms are created equal. Sometimes we have a V, sometimes we have an inverse head and shoulders. Okay, sometimes we have sort of a cup and handle. Sometimes we have an Adam and Eve. Sometimes we have a diamond bottom. There's all different kinds of patterns that play out. But we are still watching the potential of this inverse head and shoulders pattern play out. And so a couple thoughts I have on it. My first thought here, okay, is about this head. And now this head looks kind of funky. And yes, it does look kind of funky. We normally like to see more of a tighter candle pattern that denotes the head versus this kind of a low with a lower low, kind of little messy Adam and Eve here. And by Adam and Eve, I mean uh, here's your Adam, and then here's your Eve. Okay, a tighter V with more of a round, creating the entire head structure as a whole. But let's just say for S's and giggles that that's what we're looking at here. And we're also looking at kind of a sloping H&S here too, because we never, on this move from the wick and the candle close, were able to get up to 4,400. So if we're going to call our neckline between 44 and maybe even as low, I'll go closing candle. I'll say 4K. Okay, that means we can really take our bullish sense a little bit lower. And again, our right shoulder, man, I really don't want to go lower than like 35.50 at the absolute max. Maybe like right here, like that's as low as I would want to go. And now that kind of makes my right shoulder a little, not as low as I kind of want it to go on the left here because of our spacing here. Maybe we do get an intra wick a little bit lower. I guess that's possible. Maybe we can spread out the timing of our right shoulder and how long that might actually take. But let's just say hypothetically that this is a scenario that plays out. And we are actually able to find support in the next couple days in this area and then retest our neckline, which is sloping, mind you, 45, 44, 41, 42, 42, 41, right? And then potentially we're talking about a neckline break of what now? $3,900? It's not the prettiest inverse H&S, but yeah, maybe. I'm just giving us some deference here. Then we kind of look at, where our head and neckline is here, and we try and do an extension of our full neckline headline. And that would take us to something above our previous $4,500 resistance to something a little bit higher. The biggest thing we're watching to determine where we're going with this and where our possibilities of our overall upward trend can be is our overall major resistance line, which is our white guy right here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. And whenever we do that, I love to do a back test, right? I love to do some sort of a back test about was major resistance becoming major support. So a good scenario to be trying to reestablish some sort of a move to get back up to here, retest this initial rejection, break through, bounce back, and push higher. Wouldn't that be great? Right? Wouldn't that be a good bullish possibility to make up all this bearish move here? Which would be a tremendous move. And because we have a sloping resistance line, we don't have to get back to 6K really. We have to get back to the $5,200 range, something in this initial area where we actually were able to find that initial support before Bitcoin Bitcoin broke bearish there. Now, from a timing standpoint, we're talking like February, March potentially, where we're sloping lower to the low 5Ks, and we can then retest this area. The problem, though, is our line of resistance now, that we've now a newer line of resistance, which we've established, which in itself is our neckline of our potential head and shoulders here. Okay, so now we've established this here. And again, I'm on my daily here of our closing daily candle, closing candle, wick, closing candle, closing candle, closing candle. So now we have our major upper resistance, but now we have this major lower resistance based on our current price action, which also coincides with the potential neckline as it is. So here's where the battle is going to be fought. The next battle of expansion, if we are able to get bullish, it's going to be somewhere here, $3,800, $3,900. Okay, if Bitcoin can get back over 200, if Bitcoin can get back over $4,000, then heck yeah, I want to start to target that $4,400 area once again. I want to start targeting those areas where we know have been our major, most recent resistance areas. That's very important to basically keep that in mind. A failure to do that, a failure to break into that area out of our yellow line here of major resistance. Because let's face it here, we had several days here in a good setup to continue this bullish expansion. And then our volume kind of fell apart after that happened there. And that was basically very clear as we were watching the past couple days of price action take place. Who's in the, whoa, 300 watching. How'd that happen? Wow. All right. Who's in the chat room? Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Wow. All right. Let's keep it going here. Let's see here. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. I know what I want to talk about. Biggest thing we keep watching here to get a sense of if we're oversold, overbought, if we have any more momentum, if we're over leveraged, is our longs and our shorts. So let's do an analysis of a comparison between our Bitcoin shorts and our Bitcoin longs here. Look at that. Look at our longs. We're still holding support in our overall, well, not overall, in our most recent channel here. And our shorts, oof, interesting. So we had failed to hold into our all-time high zone with our clear tweezer top here. And then in the daily, we were putting in some sort of a descending wedge, which I now have to expand to a much more of a broader descending wedge here because I want to get that in there. No, descending channel, that's what it is. Yeah, so we have this descending channel. Actually, let me do a channel if it's a real channel. There we go. I like that. Okay, so we're finding our channel here. Now, the bottom line with our longs and shorts is this. Neither one right now is really over leveraged. The shorts aren't overextended. The longs aren't overextended. So we are seeing a situation here where I'm not seeing leverage caught off guard, which is a sense that, okay, if the longs were too overextended, like they were here on this candle this week here, I'm on the weekly, that's why, they basically had their hands slapped because they were a little too extended too much here, and we had this major correction here. We're still finding that support on our channel, but if our longs break down below, because they had enough running room here because they were so oversold initially to allow our nice bullish move in Bitcoin here. What's going to get our shorts to start loading up again? I hate saying that like that. And that's if they find support here in this most recent area of support, somewhere around the 30,000 contracts area. Seems to be an area where we have found resistance, backtest support, break through, support. So yeah, we're getting closer to an area right around 29, 30,000 contracts, okay, where our shorts have been able to find that support. And all around, the shorts have a much better chance to get back into all-time high zones than our long contracts do to at least touching our middle channel resistance, which is actually held strong. Um, here until we were actually able to get that bullish momentum there. So the bottom line, longs and shorts, nothing is too overextended or over extreme here to show that we're going to see a major move. But what we are finding at least is some stability in our pullback here. Now, obviously, we were going to find a pullback after this major move in the price action of Bitcoin. We had seen alts, okay, move very quickly, okay, and a lot of it was had shown a better trade, right? Uh, Bitcoin rises 30%, some alts rose 50, 80, 100. 200%. Okay, so when Bitcoin ranges with a sense of bullishness, altcoins have a chance to fly, and we definitely saw that. It was a better trade to be in, your Bitcoin Cashes, your Ethereums, your Litecoins. And even though we're pulling back from our area here of major bullish momentum we've had, okay, there's still plenty of room, at least on all these altcoins, to find some initial supports, maybe not as high, and then back test those key areas once again as resistance. Okay, so Ethereum had an 80% move. Okay, and now on the pullback here, as Bitcoin has retraced 50% from its big move, Ethereum hasn't even hit that yet. We're still between 38 and 50% here. So all coins have running room still in both directions here. And we talk about Bitcoin's bear break. Because the altcoins had so much more of a nastier bear break, they had room to run from extreme oversold conditions. And that's why you saw the percentage gains on alts were more voracious, let's call it, than what Bitcoin has offered. But remember, Bitcoin runs the show, and if Bitcoin is unable to get above this area, or at least hold support in this area, then we know what can happen. And the problem with that is we talk about how will we know we've bottomed? How will the market know that Bitcoin has truly bottomed? The problem with answering that question is that we aren't going to know. We're not going to know for potentially weeks or months after we've actually bottomed in the price of Bitcoin because even back in 2014, we didn't realize the bottoming of Bitcoin had taken place until we were able to find that bullish push after getting close to doing almost a second lower low before we were able to find that support around $200 there, and then saw that money flow in, breaking us out of our bear market there. That took 10 months. That took 10 months from the actual bottom of Bitcoin to our price action that we're seeing now. And I can show you um, kind of what I mean by that and why it's so important to keep this in mind as we're trying to find when we can call a bottom. Because the bottom here in January 1st of 2015 at 150 bucks. Okay, in August you could have bought Bitcoin for around 200 bucks. And it wasn't until that move here, bringing us into November, several months later, busting us out of our lower low and putting in that higher low pattern, did our next bull market start. So we are in still, I believe, the early stages, unfortunately, of this bear market, and every bear market hence has taken longer and longer. Okay, we have our bear market of 2012. Our bear market of 2013 was a little bit longer. Our bear market of 2014 was a little bit longer, 14 and 15. And now I fear, unfortunately, our bear market of 2018 and 2019 will be longer because that seems to be the trend with Bitcoin. Now, what happens and what do we get for having to wait longer in this bear market? Well, that, my friends, is a Bitcoin breaking through 20,000 to a new high, potentially as high as $60,000 or $70,000, maybe even more, on our next bull market run. Okay, we're still, I believe, unfortunately, in the earlier to middle stages of our current bear market. Unfortunately, a lot of the manipulation we had in our exchanges potentially extended our support area above 6,000 longer than it should have been, potentially even prolonging this longer. We see once that broke how quickly we were able to fall through so quickly, so viciously, right? Because of how strong and how I say this, how weak the support at 6K was. And then once that support broke, how quickly we were able to fall. We also use our VPVR, historically speaking, to watch our windows of support and how we've been caught in this window that brought us to potentially as low as 3K. And there's good reason for that 3K hold thus far. It is our major support area historically, as we found that that short respite of history, you could argue, in June, July, August, September of 2017. A failure to hold this area. And there's a lot of history here. There's enough history in the upper 2000s, low 3000s now to still make this a very strong battle for the Bulls and the Bears to basically continue to fighting. But as I said before, and as I still feel from the chart perspective, there are reasons why the 3K area will not hold and good reasons why we can fall a lot lower, potentially testing somewhere in the low $2,000 range. And a lot of that has to do with our windows, which our VPVR is showing us of limited money flow, relatively speaking, in the areas if we're unable to hold 2K. And we basically fall very quickly to our next area of support corresponding with this area of historic price history around $1,300. But a lot has to happen between now and then. So I don't really like to talk about the sub 3K possibilities until we've proven that our current 3K 3150 area support area is not holding our support. Okay, so keeping a longer term perspective on Bitcoin, okay, it's very important. Don't get rattled by these quick intraday moves, intra-candle moves. We have a bigger history here showing us what Bitcoin is capable of and showing us what a bearish market can be capable of, which is several bullish pops, okay, followed by um, failed rallies, and profit taking. And that's what happens in bear markets. We have these failed rallies followed by givebacks, failed rallies followed by givebacks. And until that trend changes, the bear market and the bears will continue to have um, that overall upper hand. Okay, I want to talk about a couple higher time frames before we call it a day here. And the reason I like to use my higher term time frames is it gives me balance, it gives me direction, and it gives me a foundation. Okay, it makes me be smarter in my early decision making process because I know of a good spectrum from a larger 50,000 foot view of what the chart is telling us and where I can find expectations of support and resistance. Now, this is my 3-day. We start a new one tomorrow. So this is the last day of our 3-day candle. I don't like it. This is a bearish 3-day candle. We see our upper wick on high volume. Okay, I'd love to close this guy out at least into the wick of the previous 3-day candle, which would put us at least to 3770. I'd love to close at least above 3770, putting us a little bit higher than the low of the previous candle. Obviously, ideally, I'd like to close above $3,900. I don't like this 3-day candle here. Looking at our weekly candle, okay, again, we're only 3 days into our weekly candle. That's why it looks exactly like our 3-day candle here. But what we're seeing is, again, upper wick resistance, similar to here, that our price cannot close above $4,100. And how important $4,100 is to keep that going there. Beetlejuice VPVR visual price. Wow. Volume price visual representation. So when I have my VPVR up, it shows us where most of the money flow happened to occur at the specific price point. And on a longer term time frame, we actually see those areas of gaps or windows where even though we had a price action in that area, there wasn't much money flow. That can tell us where good areas of support and resistance can be found. Okay, so still early in this weekly candle here. Can't judge much on our volume, can't judge much on our candle, although it's currently bearish. And our RSI, although able to find support after closing below 30, which is a very important area. We can see historically what happens where we do find that support with a failed rally. And then in our RSI, we actually do put in a lower low. And that lower low in our RSI in January actually determined to be our bottom. Okay? So are we doing a very similar chart on our weekly RSI than we did in 2014? So far, yes. Very similar. Okay? Which shows we had a bounce, a little pullback, another little bounce, okay? And then we fell to that lower low. Okay, now this doesn't have to be exact here. You can see we actually had a much more steeper fall. This had a pause first. So these don't have to go exactly, but the overall test of 30, little bounce, and then drop of 30 can definitely be in play as our RSI on the weekly plays out as the next couple of weeks commence and we head into our next year's price action. Weekly Stoke looks pretty good. You know, we did find that support here on our lower areas here. And this is a reason why we don't necessarily have to fall through so quickly here. There should be reason why we're able to find support in the 3650, 3750 area, at least for a little bit longer. I don't feel the bulls have a reason yet to capitulate just yet. They've done a good move. We have a good pullback. There's still a chance for them to keep moving higher. We see how low we are still on our CMF, and we're still on our zero line. We also note our zero line was our major resistance the last time our CMF actually chose to break bullish and then find that major resistance here. So that's important to keep an eye on as our zero line has shown to be major resistance, which also can tell us maybe we have a little bit more running room left to get to that $4,400 area or higher. And if that's the case, we know that alts can also move along with that. And lastly here, the monthly, because hey guys, we're like 5 days away from our monthly candle close. Okay, and this is super important. We're so on the line here of how a good monthly close can become a bad monthly close. Okay, now for now, this is a reversal candle, and the reason I say that is I like my my long lower wick. I like my volume profile. A lot of this was by volume, even though we're still putting in a red volume bar. Okay, we're still putting in a red TD5, and we're still putting in a lower low than our previous close. Now, a couple days ago, all right, when we were at 42.47, what an awesome, awesome bottom hammer this would have been, okay? And God, if we can close in the next 5 days up here, what an amazing bottom hammer reversal this could totally be. That would be really great for the bulls, okay? But we got to get up another $500 to get back up there to really make this look like the best bullish candle. Yeah, I like the bottom wick. I like the volume. I want to close higher. If we can't close above, and I really mean this, if we cannot even get above last month's lower wick, which was what, 34.73, that would be really bearish. Now we have some running room, okay, bearishly until we do that. And that would be just more of a continuation candle than a reversal candle. We're so close. We're on the cusp of being able to push this higher, okay? But we just need to find that intent in our price action here. It'd be great to close a green candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of red candles. It'd be nice to change that up. Have we ever put in 3, 4, 5 months in a row of red candles? 1, 2, 3, 4. We almost did it here, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we've never put in 4 months of red candle, I don't believe. And I can't imagine we're going to do it for a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, here's our 4 here. And then 5. I don't know what we were like over here, though. Check that out. So it's rare. It's rare to put in 4. It's certainly rare to put in 5. We also see our lower Bollinger is rising, and next month it's probably going to rise well over $1,200. Okay, at some point these will touch, whether our price goes lower to touch it or a lower BB comes up to hold it and cradle it as support. But at some point these will touch. And we can see that our bottom here happened on a red 5, okay? Even though we still had a 6, a 7, and an 8, okay, our bottom of 2014 Bitcoin here, and notice how the candle looked here, long lower wick, okay, was also on a 5. We're also on a 5 with a long lower wick. So I like the similarity in the 2014 profile of our TD count as well as our candle appearance, but still a lot of time next 5 days, okay, to make this look like it's going to look. Now, this is important. Okay, we had a price flip. We had a bullish price flip with a green 1. And wouldn't it be great to put in a green 2 here? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to close above $4,100 though to do that. And that's going to be tricky. And that's going to be tricky because then we're kind of basically put in a red 1 and kind of lose our bullish push there. So I want to close where I began, which was on my 4-hour chart. And I want to bring up my Ichimoku one more time because, guys, this is what I'm watching. I'm watching our 4-hour cloud support continue to act as support, okay, on our 4-hour chart. And until our price action is unable to find support on our cloud, in our cloud, or in our bottom span B support, if we break below our cloud, anything below 3650 with a 4-hour closing candle, I like to wait for confirmation below, I will think that we have basically confirmed this as a dead cat bounce and we are going back to retest our $3,000 area. If we can hold our ranging here in this area, okay, we can definitely try and retest our current neckline, which is sloping and can be as low as $4,100 to $4,200 at this point if we're able to range over the next couple days rising higher. Okay, this is a very good opportunity for the bulls to put in a very good bullish end to our month, to our quarter. Okay, and we have reason to do so as long as our 4-hour remains consistent. My 4-hour or my cloud settings are a little different than the defaults. I like to use 20, 60, 120, 30. I find these are good in terms of the way I like to use them for crypto, with a little more of a conservative bias. And again, there's no right or wrong indicators or settings to use as long as you're consistent with them. You pick one and you stick with it. Nor is the 4-hour the only indicator I like to use on my cloud, because obviously different time frames show different picture. You know, we can see we never actually got out of our cloud in our 6-hour, you know, but we are finding support on our Kaijin here. So I like to use, again, I like to pick a certain time frame and stick with it. And for me, over this whole run here, the 4-hour has been very accurate in showing me when we have a bullish move and a bullish signal, or when we could possibly have a bearish one, and that would be a failure to hold our current cloud support. Whew. Wow, 353 of my closest friends. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Been on for about 47 minutes here. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any interest in my mentoring. I'll be scheduling all through January. Okay, this is for any skill level. I don't care if you're a noob, haven't done trading for quite a while, or have been trading for a year or a few years, or just want to get some basic advice and just a friend to kind of help you have a sense of what you may be doing wrong and to help you establish some really important trading rules and disciplines that for me have really helped me in my trading, and as what I've heard from a lot of feedback on my past students, you know, has helped them out as well. So please feel free to reach out to me. Remember to follow me on Twitter. Remember to follow me on YouTube, and consider becoming a member of the Bitcoin Live platform. Looking looking forward to putting out more information and more content on their platform as well. So guys, be safe here. We'll continue to watch our cloud as we go through the day here, as we close up our day, our week, and our year in the price action of Bitcoin. I love talking to you guys and sharing my thoughts and ideas. And I hope to continue to do so in the new year. We'll definitely be in touch. This is Big Chonis. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, guys, peace out.